and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be just a kind of bit of a rambly video covering different themes. It's going to be a bit, I haven't really kind of thought this video through, so it's just some things I want to talk about really. First of all, I want to thank all my new subscribers, and of course all of you who have subscribed to my channel, and through the years, and all my new subscribers, and everyone who's ever subscribed to my channel. I just want to say a big thank you to you all, and thank you for watching my videos, and it's a great pleasure to see the numbers going up and up gradually over the week, so thank you to everyone. I much appreciate that. I got some feedback. I think one of you mentioned the quality of my camera. Yes, it is a little bit amateurish, and I haven't got the money, unfortunately, to be able to afford high-tech equipment, so just bear with that. I know it's not like great, but it's all I have available, so we're just going to stick with that. What other things did I want to say? Oh yes, and another one of you commented, said that they wanted me to talk a little bit about autism and maths. I think it's in relation to Fairchild. I'm not too sure what exactly you would like me to cover. So do please let me know if you'd like me to do a more specific video on the topic. But autism and maths, I think it's to do with how autistic people deal with abstractions, if I remember correctly. And I guess, it's a very individual thing. I think, ultimately all autistic people are different, and some autistic people are going to really excel at maths, and there is that stereotype, isn't there, like autistic people are great at maths and everything, and all stereotypes contain a grain of truth, obviously, and there are going to be autistic people who fulfil that stereotype, but all autistic people are different, and for some autistic people, maths is actually a great struggle, and it can actually be an extreme weakness, as indeed it is in my case. I'm not good at numbers and manipulating numbers and answering maths questions. I'm not good at very sort of visual spatial, in particular visual spatial mathematical problem solving, and I struggle with mental arithmetic. I'm not so bad with additions, although I still have to use my fingers. But particularly when you have to divide and take away and all of that, I do really struggle. My brain just can't compute. It doesn't do it naturally. It's a great struggle, and I haven't got any maths qualifications under my belt because I just really crap at maths, basically. And I always have struggled with it ever since I was a child, and it's picked up on when I was at school, but I really struggled with maths, and I had no number sense. Nowadays they call it dyscalculia, which is like the numerical equivalent of dyslexia, but when I was growing up, that specific understanding of maths challenges wasn't that well understood, and I think often it's confused with, many people struggle with maths and many people don't like maths, but obviously dyscalculia is a completely different ball game. It's not just to do with the difficulty of numbers per se. It covers a lot more than that. It covers your understanding of quantity, your ability to kind of problem solve in a kind of visual spatial way. It affects everyone very differently, but numbers is just one part of it. It can also affect directionality, your ability to kind of differentiate between left and right, and being able to kind of like turn objects around in your head. So yeah, it's more than just, like many people struggle with maths and aren't great at maths, but that's not the same thing as dyscalculia, and I'm dyscalculic. It's something I really struggle with. So I don't know if that answers the question really, but it's just to say, that autistic people just vary, and I don't think, it's no one size fits all. Some autistic people will be okay at abstractions, other people will really struggle with abstractions. Funnily enough, in my case, I'm good at philosophical abstractions and sort of logical abstractions, but no, I'm not good at mathematical abstractions. There are different types of abstractions, aren't there? I think it's because in maths, I just can't make sense of it. I can't form a story with maths. I can't form a picture with it. And that brings me on to another topic. which I've been finding out a bit about lately. And that's to do with the ability or not to be able to visualise images in the mind's eye. Some people, there is actually a condition called aphantasia, which I've only heard about recently, which basically means a complete inability to visualise images in the mind. So when they close their eyes, for example, they're just met with a sort of blank, like nothing, a complete blackness. They can't visualise objects. They don't have any visual memories either for like their past, for example. They wouldn't be able to visualise their classroom at school, or they wouldn't be able to visualise the holidays they've had. They might not even be able to visualise the people that they know, even people who are closest in their life. They just can't conjure up images, and it's actually called aphantasia. And I just thought that was really interesting, because I'm like, I don't have aphantasia, quite the opposite in fact. I actually have very detailed visualisations. I have very elaborate memories. I can remember, my memories go back right till when I was like, I guess my earliest memory would be at nursery school, so when I was about 3, yeah. That must be when my earliest memory, because I can remember being at nursery school and I was 3 years old at nursery school. I think some of my memories were even earlier than that actually, because I can remember being at playgroup as well, and I would have been, so maybe 2, or towards 2 coming on to 3. I have got vague memories of being at playgroup. Yeah, so my memories do go back quite a long way, and I think they do normally say, don't they, that most people, your earliest memories are around the age of about 3 anyway. But yeah, I have very vivid memories, quite vivid. I can remember my nursery school. I can remember the complete layout of a nursery school. I can remember the head teacher called Mrs. White. I can't remember exactly what she looked like, but she did have sort of greyish hair. And I can remember her room where she kept jigsaw puzzles. I can remember a lot about nursery school. I can remember the beanbags. I can remember the story time. I can remember sitting on the teacher's lap. And I can remember all of this visually, so I can go back over my past and I can walk down memory lane, and I can think, and these memories as visual, living memories come into play. I think I am quite a visual thinker, but paradoxically I also do struggle with certain aspects of vision, on a perceptual level I should say. Although I am quite a visual thinker, and also of course I have synesthesia, which I think also quite naturally makes me a visual thinker anyway, because synesthesia is very visual. You know, seeing numbers, letters, months of the year in colour, and also being able to see time and walk through time, which is a synesthesia I've got. Obviously there are different types, but I've got the colourgrapheme and spatial synesthesia, so I also see my memories as kind of mapped out on my memories kind of interlink with my synesthesia. It's quite difficult to explain, really. But yeah, so I'm the complete opposite of aphantasic. It's just that I know autistics who are aphantasic, who literally see nothing. Now there is another condition at the other extreme called hyperphantasia. And hyperphantasia is when you can see really detailed images in your mind's eye, almost like, I guess, photographic, and like you have like an extreme imagination, and that's like the complete opposite to aphantasia. I'm not hyperphantasic myself, I'm not that extreme. I'm not like really extreme. I'm not hyperphantasic and I'm not aphantasic. But I possibly come close to being hyperphantasic. I'm not hyperphantasic, because I'm not like that extreme. Like I've read about it and that does sound really, really extreme. And it's like I guess it's like a sort of bell curve, isn't it? And everyone's located somewhere in a bell curve in terms of their ability to visualise. And I'm probably kind of at the extremer end of visualisation, and I also have very vivid dreams, by the way, as well. But not over hyperphantasic, not that extreme. So I was just wondering, though, like, people watching this, any of you really, autistic or not autistic, what you think about this, if any of you are aphantasic or hyperphantasic, or like me, somewhere in the middle of the graph, and what you think about visualisation. Because they often say, don't they, that autistic people are visual thinkers, but of course it doesn't apply to all autistic people, because quite clearly not, because there are quite a number of autistic people who are aphantasics. And also, there's a bit of a myth about, well, it's not a myth, that's one way of putting it, it's a stereotype, because it does carry truth, that all autistic people are like really great at block design and puzzles and things like that. And I think there are some autistic people who are really good at those things, and that's often what's kind of focused in on, like, particularly in the media, presentation of autism. I guess maybe because, like, the general public find it intriguing, maybe. You know, some autistics can be, like, so good at, like, jigsaw puzzles and can do jigsaw puzzles upside down. I can't do jigsaw puzzles. Well, let's not say... I mean, I could do them, but it would take me a lot of effort, put it that way. And when I was a kid, I really struggled with jigsaw puzzles, even really basic ones. So I clearly don't fit into that stereotype, but I think that's because of my dyscalculia. And also it's known that, like, people with dyspraxic traits, and I have quite a few dyspraxic traits, also really struggle with, like, jigsaw puzzles and things like that because of the, it's to do with the visual spatial. My visual spatial awareness is crap, particularly when I was a kid. So that would explain why I'm really bad at jigsaw puzzles and things like that. But I think that's to do with my ability to, like, manipulate objects in my mind, which can be related to visualisation, but it's distinct to it. So you can think very visually, but not have the strength of visual spatial ability. There might be a high correlation between the two strengths, but clearly they can be separable, because in my case I am quite visual, and yeah, I do really struggle with that. And I also can struggle with, like, following maps, unless they're kind of 3D. Google Maps is fine, because it's photographic, and I've got a very good photographic visual memory. So once I've done Google Maps enough times, and I've really taken it in, it'll stay in my head. I won't even need to refer to my notes if I've looked at it closely enough and attended to it with enough attention. When I go to a place, like, wow, I've seen it on Google Maps, now I know exactly where I'm going. It's amazing. Because I've got that great, I can just hold on to images in my head like that. But as long as I've seen it 3D, you know, like photographic, as long as it's kind of concrete and it's more similar to life. If it's like, you know, an Ordnance Survey map, for example, I can't follow them. And that sort of visual ability, if you want to call it that, I really struggle with. I can't do it. And I'm also not very great at Where's Wally, which again, autistics are said to be great at that, or good at it. And again, that's a stereotype, because some autistics are really good at it, but clearly not all autistics, because I'm very much autistic, diagnosed, but I'm really hopeless at Where's Wally. But I think that because, for me, again, I think it's to do with this visual spatial problems that I have. Where's Wally? It's not like concrete. It's like a cartoon, and I'm not great at understanding that sort of. Maybe it's because it's too cluttered for me, because I struggle with visual figure ground, like picking out, in a cluttered landscape, picking out what I'm supposed to attend to. I think it's problems with knowing where to direct my attention, and probably interlinked with executive functioning, and those other cognitive issues can be impacted in autism. And I guess depending on your type of autism, it might mean you're really good at Where's Wally, or it could mean you're the complete opposite, depending on your type of autism. It just shows how all autistic people are very, very different, I guess. You know, I think for me it's to do with the fact I get overloaded when there are too many details. It's like my brain wants to see everything, and I'm not sure what to attend to, so it just goes into freeze. Whereas another autistic person might be able to kind of hone in on one very specific detail, whereas I get overloaded. So it's kind of similar in a sense that it's all to do with this problems with details, either getting overloaded or being able to zone in on them. But it can have different sort of outcomes, because I am a very detailed person, but details can also overwhelm me. So do let me know what you think. But yeah, I am quite a visual person, not like at the extreme end of, I'm not hyperphantasic, but I do have very clear, very graphic long-term memories. I am very good at storing in memory visual things, as long as they're not overloaded with details, as long as they're concrete, and as long as they don't overwhelm me. I'm not always very good at understanding complex diagrams, but I think that interlinks with my dyscalculia. Not all diagrams, some diagrams I can follow just fine. I quite like flowcharts, but I'm not good at those really complicated diagrams, particularly if they're sort of like mathematically based, but again, that's because of my dyscalculia more than anything, I think. But yeah, I just thought I'd talk about that, and do please let me know what you think about it. Okay, so I'm going to move on to video number 2 now. So moving on to video number 2.